Let's talk some hoops, Jim, if you can. And my question is, what's more impressive, the men playing well or the Lady Vols struggling? Thoughts?
I'm going to go more impressive that the men are playing well.
Right.
I think Dalton Knecht's the real deal. I think he's a stud. He might be that guy that can get you a basket when you need it, whether it's to stop a run, whether it's to win a game late. He can shoot outside. He can create. He can take it to the basket. Tennessee, I guess this is certainly arguable. They haven't had a guy that you could rely on to get a basket in a crunch situation since Grant Williams left. So I think Knecht makes a big difference. I think the Gainey kid is one of the 2 or 3 best players on the team. I really like him. I think he's a heck of a player. And I guess it was the most recent game. Those two combined for like 34 points. In one of the earlier games, they combined for 48. Those two, Knecht and Gainey. I think they make a huge difference with this team. And I think Awaka inside is developing into a good player. Adu's gotten better. But I still go back to this. I think they'll have a really good regular season, but what are they going to do in the postseason? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe Knecht's good enough. Maybe Gainey's good enough. Maybe the inside game will come around. But I think, and I enjoy the regular season of basketball, but let's face it, you're really judged by what you do in the postseason, right? So I'll be curious to see where Tennessee goes. Now, as far as the women are concerned, they won without Rickea Jackson the other night, but they had a 10-point lead with 3 minutes left, and it went into overtime. I'm like, they did some sloppy stuff, the basketball IQ, they didn't play with it late in the game, but they did win without Rickea Jackson, so that's the flip side of that. But to your question, what the men are doing right now, and that includes and I know exhibition games don't count, but that does include the impressive performance at Michigan State.
And I guess I said impressive, Caleb. I probably should have said newsworthy, but anyway, I think Jimmy got me. We've worked together for a while, so he knows my missteps. All right, Caleb, what's on your mind, hoops wise?
Well, to Jimmy's point, Jimmy, I'm going to get to my thoughts on the Lady Vols in a second, but I just want to ask how you feel. I think one of Tennessee's problems last year, there were 2 problems. They didn't have enough shooters, which I think they have this year by adding Jordan Gainey, which you need shooters in March. But the other part was because Uras Plavsic couldn't really be a threat inside. I think teams sold out around the perimeter. And so Tennessee didn't get a lot of open looks. Do you think Adu and Awaka interchangeable can be enough of a force inside long-term where they have to respect that? So then there were going to be open perimeter looks.
Yeah, that's a good question. To me right now, from what I've seen, it's more likely that it's going to be Awaka. But I do think he can progress to that point. I think he is a guy. I think he's very determined. He's very strong. He's a really good rebounder. And I think he's a guy that's more likely to become a 10, 12-point scorer than Adu, because Adu does like to step out on the perimeter and shoot. So I think Awaka could be that guy. And if he is, that's going to make this team and this offense a lot better. So it's a good question, but I'm gonna answer that by saying, yes, I think Awaka could step up and be the guy to help open up the perimeter.
What is it you like about Knecht? Let me get a little deeper into that.
Everything.
Creamsicle Mamba.
I like he can shoot outside. He can take it to the basket. He's a slasher. He's not afraid to take a clutch shot. And it was also funny. He told Rick Barnes when he came here, he said, look, one reason I selected to come here is I want you to teach me how to become a better defensive player. Rick Barnes has said, Knecht twice has already regretted that because I've been on his butt in practice about playing better defense. But I like his all-around game. I like his toughness. I like his mentality. The skill set is there. I think he's going to not only lead this team in scoring, I think he'll be one of the top scorers in the SEC.
Okay, let me ask you guys both this. Caleb, I'm going to start with you. So heat's on you. Knecht has the best upside of a player since blank at Tennessee.
Best upside of a player since blank. Well, see, I would say even though he got hurt last night, Knecht doesn't even have the best upside on this team. I think he might end up being the best player on this team this year. But I think long term, I think Freddie DeLeon could turn into a superstar when he gets fully healthy. I just don't think he's been healthy yet.
Jimmy, thoughts?
Since Grant Williams.
Wow.
Go ahead.
No. I'll let you go, Jimmy. because I was going to.
No, I just think that I think his all-around game is scoring, his ability, and also the guy can rebound. He's playing better defense than I guess some people thought he might when he got here. But I really like the idea that this guy can score. He can score when you need it. He can score from outside or inside. And whenever they need a basket, I think they can rely on him to get it. And I think he makes his teammates better because he's such a threat. You got to cheat on him. You got a game plan for him, and that can help open up Vescovy. It can help open up Jordan James and some other players.
Dave, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Caleb. Sorry,
I wanted to jump in and change the subject a little bit though, because I wanted to get back to the Lady Vols for a second, if that's okay. Which is, you talk about how they played sloppy the last 10 minutes the other night against Memphis, and that's how the game went into overtime. Or the last 2 minutes being up by 10. That's not a first for Kellie Harper. This is her fifth year. And I think Tennessee's led the SEC in turnovers every year she's been head coach, if I'm not mistaken.
At least they're leading in something.
Yeah. And so at what point do we start questioning her? Yeah. Because this is becoming they have been a turnover machine ever since she's been head coach, and it hasn't changed in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, because I looked at Jordan Horston, who was a turnover machine. She could give you 7 in a given night. I thought bringing in Destiny Wells, I thought bringing in Spears, although not a true necessary ball handler, I thought that would help. I think Powell's a pretty decent player. And then to see them just unfold the last 3 minutes with that 10-point lead against Memphis, I'm sitting there thinking, this is the same old stuff. Look, here's the thing too. I haven't looked this up, but somebody told me this. Kellie Harper's record is not even as good as Holly Warlick's at this point in their tenure at Tennessee. This is a very critical year for her. If she can't win this year at a high level, I'm not talking about winning a national championship, but at least a high level, maybe the Elite Eight or the Final Four, with Rakia Jackson, with Jewel Spear. I don't know whether they're going to get much out of Tamari Key, but with the players that they have, Destiny Wells, Powell, if they can't win with this group of talented players, then win. So I think this is a critical year for her, because I don't know that she'll ever have more talent than what she's got right now.
Okay, let me ask you guys a blank question again. Blank will be at Tennessee longer. Kellie Harper, Rick Barnes. Jimmy?
Caleb?
Notice I don't answer either one of them.
I know. How about that for an assist?
That's right.
I had this. Hey, I'm LeBron.
That is
James.
actually
I'm passing it off in a clutch moment. So somebody
that
else
is
can shoot.
To be fair to LeBron, he is more of a passer than a scorer. There, everybody goes at him for that, but like passing is his strength. That's what he's one of the best passers of all time.
Hey, I wasn't making fun of him.
Everybody loves LeBron. Easy, Caleb.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I just think people hate on him for that, but it's like Magic Johnson always passed in the clutch too because he was a passer. But that is a good question that Dave asked, and it's one of the toughest questions I think we've ever had on this show. That is today's tough question.
Breaking the YouTube.
I got it. I'll give an answer. Caleb keeps dancing around it. Caleb's over there like Michael Jackson. He won't even answer. So,
who you got?
Kellie Harper. And here's why. Rick Barnes, I don't see Rick Barnes staying around 4 or 5 more years. All right. Now, so that means Kellie Harper has to stay around 4 or 5 more years.
That's the question.
Yeah, it is. So you get back to this, and I know that there'll be some people upset with my answer. But so I think Barnes, and also Barnes is dealing with it, but he's not crazy about the NIL. He's not crazy about the portal and dealing with all that stuff. But he has dealt with it. But if you look at Barnes's age, I think he'll be out in a few years. I think that if Kellie Harper can continue to win 20-plus games and get in the tournament and make the Sweet 16, I don't think they would fire her. So I think that she would be able to sustain her career by playing at a decent level, but not an elite level.
Interesting. Caleb, let me get your answer to that question. Everybody on the message board seems to think Rick, but we'll let Jimmy out of here after we get your answer. Caleb, what do you think?
Just to be contrarian, I'm going to go Rick, because I think that, I think Rick Barnes he's at 69 and coaching like he's got 10 years left. He just seems young. Jimmy, I think one of the things that people miss about the Lady Vols, and I've talked to Dave about this, the Lady Vol fan base is not the fan base of the rest of Tennessee sports. It's very unique. And I wonder, maybe you can answer this, because it's unique and because there's a sense of loyalty to the program and the people who built the program. Is there a split among the Lady Vol fan base over the fact that Holly Warlick was fired because there was such an older fit contingency that was so Holly Warlick was there for 30 years as Pat Summitt's right-hand woman? And is there a split almost like what there was with Fulmer and Majors in 1992 among loyalists?
No, I don't think so. I think that a lot of those that when Holly was fired, the majority of the fans that I talked to, and I don't talk to all of them, I get that, but the majority of the ones that I talked to thought that Holly wasn't getting the job done because Tennessee had won at a high level. And so it was almost like the Bill Battle effect. So he takes over, Battle does, he wins 10 games, 11 games, whatever. Then all of a sudden he wins 8, 7, 6. Okay, the program's going downhill. You got to make a change. I think the majority of them looked at that and said, hey, we love Holly Warlick, but the program's going down. Change needs to be made. And so they made it. So I didn't see nearly a split, anything like the Fulmer Majors deal.